So as a salesman, I realized this is a piece of business that I could pick up and pick up $200,000 in billing per month. Yeah, I become their consultant and I look at their area and I actually research. I find out which school districts are perfect for them. And I teach my clients the word no is not in your vocabulary. You do not say no to that school.
Inside a lamp where wishes come true. RouteGenie's here to show you what you need to do. A-E-M-T insights, we got the key. Unlock the journey with RouteGenie.
Welcome to Inside the Lamp, your go-to podcast for everything NEMT and RouteGenie software. Let's get moving.
Everybody, welcome Inside the Lamp. We've got a really cool episode today. We're here with Joe Siddle from St. Louis, Missouri. Joe is a consultant that works with NEMT providers, a lot of our customers, in fact, and helps them grow their operations and stabilize their operations a little bit. So, Joe, why don't you go ahead and kind of do a quick introduction?
Yeah, I've been doing this about, I guess I back up. I've been in sales my whole career. And so I've done medical sales for 20 years. I sold copiers. I've done all of it. And I understood marketing. And then I got involved with non-emergency transportation, NEMT. And once I got involved with that, I had to look at the business, grow the business, see where the pieces are at. Once I got involved with it, even though I was in medical sales, I had to get involved with the whole thing, transportation. And of course, when I realized we had two schools with one van in each school, and I looked at it and I started talking to them and I realized that was a huge piece. I mean, I can pick up 5 or 20 kids. That's 20 kids. That's 40 trips a day. And that's ongoing for the whole year. So as a salesman, I realized this is a piece of business that I could pick up and pick up $200,000 in billing per month just by picking up schools and be able to maintain that business for the whole school year. And obviously you have 2 months off during the summer and 1 month off, you have to pick up summer school. But I realized that was a very good source of revenue for our company. And it doubled our company real quick.
Awesome. And so now you're working with providers all over the United States, essentially replicating the same approach.
Correct. Basically what I do, I go in, I become their consultant and I look at their area and I actually research. I find out which school districts are perfect for them, what type of revenue, what type of money they're spending for third-party transportation. Once I get involved with that, I can research what's going on, who the vendors are, what kind of prices is going on in that school district, and help them decide which school to go after, and what type of questions we're going to have for that school, and figure out a way to capture that through RFP, and maybe have an RFP or whatever they have. We find out what that is and help them work through all that, all the way from making the contract up to making sure we understand exactly what that school is needing.
So it sounds like you're kind of going in, and I know there's a lot of consultants that will identify opportunities or help engage those opportunities, but it sounds like what really separates you is you're going in with a game plan, so to speak, right? You're not just showing up and calling plays and snapping the ball. You're going in with a game plan of how to find who the right targets are, and the best way to work with those targets.
Yeah, I become their consultant and I look at their area and I actually research. I find out which school districts are perfect for them. What type of revenue, what type of money they're spending for third-party transportation, know exactly what to go after, and then help their sales rep, whoever that is, to be able to go for their first call. Sometimes they fly me in and I close the first deal real quick for them to help them out, and then help them out. Once that happens, help them out with the agreement, what that agreement should look like, what their pricing. I talk to them about their pricing, what that looks like, because after a little bit of time, I can find out in that area what the going price is for the kids and who the players are. And I know a lot of the national players, and then we'll be able to strategize exactly what kind of prices we're going to go in at and what we're going to do to set ourselves apart from the competition.
Yeah, I mean, having access to that information, being able to go gather that information is a huge leg up. Knowing what you're up against, essentially from a competition standpoint, knowing what contracts have been put out there, what the requirements of the contracts are, huge advantage. So you know what you're getting into before you walk in the door. That's obviously going to give you some much better talking points. That makes sense.
Totally.
Very cool. So obviously, selling to schools, it's more than just knowing the contracts and developing the agreement. There's some marketing to it, and even post-sale, working with schools is a little bit different than maybe your standard NEMT work that you might be doing. So tell me a little bit more about what you do to help with both marketing materials, and then also kind of the post-sale, getting the company ready to actually handle and execute the contract.
Yeah. what happens? I help them with their brochure. I make sure they have the right information on a brochure to keeping kids safe. I help them with their website, make sure they know what they need to put on that website, because these schools look at the email address, they look at their website, they look at their brochure, because you send a PDF through the email over to them. Once we do that, I show the transportation department how to actually proceed when it comes to how to communicate with the school. How do you get the kids over to you? What time's easiest for them? If it's a Google shared sheet, or is it an email, and we try to find the best way for the school. What makes sense for them, to make it very easy for them. When I teach my clients, the word no is not in your vocabulary. You do not say no to that school. You have to have a floater. What floater is. You have actually a floater van somewhere. And if all of a sudden that school, and this is what happens in this world, with McKinney-Vento program, these kids are homeless, and they become homeless, and then they apply to have their kids picked up and brought to school every day. That takes almost a month. A lot of times you'll get a phone call at 2:00 in the afternoon and say, hey, I got these 3 kids at a hotel. They haven't been to school for 1 month, Joe. You got to go get them now. You can't tell these schools, well, we have a 3-day, and a lot of companies say, we have a 3-day waiting period. You got to give us 3 days to at least set that whole thing up. They need those kids at school the next day. And I just don't say, I tell my clients, don't say no, you got to figure it out. Even if you tell the school, well, the first day they might be 15 minutes late. They don't care. They just want the kids to school. They're okay with that. They're not, that's fine, Joe, just get them to school. And once you start saying yes all the time, you're the go-to person. Because they don't want to hear no, well, I might be able to start doing it a week from now. You can't do that. And if you do it correctly, you're the go-to person for that school, for their kids. And you're weekly, my gosh, I train my clients to bill weekly, because sometimes schools will pay weekly, and all of a sudden you're not billing $2,000 a week, you're billing $50,000 a week. Obviously that's 30 vehicles, but it depends how fast you want to grow.
Yeah, scaling your growth is important, and making sure you're at a responsible pace. But you're we're talking about with not saying no. It's not a matter of if we can do it, but how can we do it, right? That mentality, something we try to take on as well. And I know a couple of our original founders that were originally designed the software with us, the company was originally built for. That was how they grew their business. They started with like 4 vehicles, and within years had it over 300. Because they just became the go-to for everybody, because it was never if you could do it, it was how they were going to get it done. And sometimes, like you said, it would be, listen, we can do it, but we're going to be an hour, we can't get there for 11 o'clock. We'll get there for noon. And at least setting that expectation and giving someone an option to solve their problem versus just saying no goes a long, long way. So that's
you don't sit there and go, well, I'll get back with you and call them back 3 hours later. You call them back in 10 minutes. And I guess one of my keys was because sometimes we allowed, don't misunderstand this, allow dispatch to dictate when we can do it. I've had my dispatch look at me and go, Joe, we can't do that tomorrow. There's no way possible. And they gave me the authority to say, no, find a way. Go back and pre-assign, readjust it, figure this out. This is going to happen. I don't care if you're 15 minutes late. I want it figured out. Move stuff around now. And you know what? They do. And they figure out a way. Knowing, okay, I can have this kid, we'll pick up those people a little bit earlier, drop them, and then run over and pick up that one, and try to make it happen. Because once it starts happening, then after the day after day, it starts, getting balanced out and being picked up at the right time and everything.
So that's a really good segue. I know you're a big fan of RouteGenie and something you recommend to a lot of your clients, something you used yourself in the past. For this type of work specifically, what is it about RouteGenie? What are your favorite aspects of RouteGenie that make growing your business in this way and adopting this kind of work a little bit easier?
The two things that stand out for me is I have a portal for the schools to look at. A screen comes up, they can see the vehicles coming. They can see who's in that vehicle. They can see what time they're going to be there. All right. I guess it's a couple of things. Obviously, dispatch can see the color changing, because what I would do, even though I was in the marketing thing, I would watch what's going on at morning. I can look in the screen, see the colors changing. They're running late. Dispatch, call that driver, what's going on. And then obviously, with using that alone, we can call the school up and say, hey, we're running a little late. The schools know there's problems, but they don't want to hear from the parents. They want to hear from the transportation part. They want to hear from my client saying, hey, we're running 10 minutes late. Here are the 3 kids running late. We're coming. That's a home run with them. They don't have to, they don't need to get a phone call a month later, school saying, so-and-so company's late every day. They don't want to hear that. And so I make sure they know how to do that. Of course, the pre-assign is amazing. I mean, routing and of course your templating to be able, once that's templated, then you sign it, give it a name, you're ready to go. Even if you have Friday's always different because Friday the kids get picked up early or whatever, you just have 2 templates. It's very easy to do that. And I can build, and as one of the guys, I can go in as a minister, I can go and look what they're doing. Okay, that looks good. To make sure it looks like it's lining up correctly. And then of course, when it comes to the client app, I'm not sure what you call it, but I call it the client app, passenger app. Okay, is that what they call it now? And that we actually would call the families. Okay, we're picking up tomorrow. Here's the pickup time and information. And of course, can you download this? And we actually stay on the phone while they download that app onto their phone, so we have access to them. Now, I heard about your brand new, I haven't been kind of out of the loop for several months, and I heard you guys have another program where the system with text, that's amazing, because here's the deal. They download the app. Sometimes they just don't use it, and with something like that, they all of us are notified, and it shows a GPS, what time they're going to be there, what time they're going to be there, that type of thing. And so that's what I like about it. And it allows them, and of course the reporting, I can at the end of the month, I can figure out the reporting correctly, so I can put together invoices, because I used to do, it took so fast with the reporting, because revenue is everything. I got to make sure I can get my money, and your system allows us to be able to see change out the reports with all the information I want, and then make it into a spreadsheet and a PDF and be able to send it off to get paid.
Yeah, I think it's you touched on a lot of the things that a lot of people tell us they really love about RouteGenie. Templates, we've seen a lot of growth in not just school transport, but other forms of transport where it's kind of same people going to the same place getting picked up. So whether it be adult day programs, behavioral health programs, PACE, etc. We've seen quite a bit of growth there because people love the way the templates work and streamline their operation in that way. And we're going to continue to make that easier and easier for people. Real-time ETAs, that's something we see as a huge differentiator. We hear that, a lot of folks that we just do a great job of giving you a realistic, hey, well, this is when the vehicle is going to be there, and updating that every minute, giving people that insight. And you alluded to, you mentioned with the passenger app, the new feature, the texting link. So essentially, folks get a link when the vehicle's on the way. It's got, the vehicle information, the ETA, and the text, but they can also hit a link and live track that vehicle and get live ETA updates as that vehicle moves towards them. So really gives them.
We found more and more texting is everything. They're going to, and then here's the other thing. In my world, sometimes they get their phone cut off, but they always have Wi-Fi, and texting works. And so that's how we communicate with our parents, is by texting. So that program is perfect, because even if their phone is disconnected, their Wi-Fi, it picks it up.
Yeah, it's something that we're seeing a lot. Not having to download the app. The app gives them more capabilities.
Oh yeah,
we still want to push people to take the app, because that can get you private pay rides. Right now, that person has you in your pocket. So still want to drive the app, but the texting feature, it might be someone you've never transported before, especially if you're doing broker work, for example.
Right.
You may have never transported this person before, but they're still getting those live updates and having an awesome experience. So, awesome stuff. I'm glad to hear that, you're as happy with the software as you've been for years, and that we're delivering for your clients. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Or if you'd like to share, how can folks get a hold of you if they want to work with you?
Well, email is probably the best. I can call my number too. You want me to get my email now?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll go.
My real name is Joey. So it's JoeySiddle, Siddle with an S, at gmail.com.
So JoeySiddle@gmail.com. We'll put that on the screen here with some text here, so folks have it and can jot it down. So if you're looking to grow your business and you think schools might be a good fit for you, whether using RouteGenie or not using RouteGenie, reach out to Joey. He can help you out, and we'll get you going with some more work and being able to help more people.
I really believe it's rewarding, because one of the areas I like the fact is we're taking homeless kids to school, kids in foster care, and we're taking care of them. We're not like a taxi service. We understand with fire extinguishers, first aid kits. We know how to take care of our clients. Our cameras, they need that safety for those kids.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. So, because we didn't really get into the program itself, you mentioned it, but a lot of these transports, it's foster kids that are moving out of the district. So they've got enough going on, right? That's why this program exists nationwide and funding for it exists. Essentially, what a lot of the transports are, and there's special needs transports, there's other transports for schools too, but a lot of them are folks that are in foster care that they're being moved around. And this program exists to essentially allow them to stay within the same school so they at least have that being solid in their life. So if they're moving from town to town, they're not also moving school to school. They've got enough change going on. They've got enough that they're dealing with. So, you mentioned making sure you get paid, and all of us are in the business to, we got to make sure we make money so we can continue to operate. But, I think so many of us, I know the two of us included, do what we do because of the number of people that it helps out there that need help getting to where they need to go. And what better group to serve, than kids.
You think about it, you're doing the elderly, which is the largest population that needs help, and you're taking care of kids who, one, could be in foster care, or two, they're homeless. Now, that doesn't mean they're living on the street. They might be living with an aunt or a grandma, but they're not living somewhere. They're just staying somewhere. It's where they're staying, and then it changes during a year 3 or 4 times, and you got to be on it, because you'll get a phone call saying, "Well, Joe, we got a problem. They just got kicked out of their hotel." You've got to drop them somewhere else and pick them up somewhere the next day. And RouteGenie allows us to pull the trip down, make the changes, pull right back up and call the driver, make sure they're moving around on their route to make sure it's done correctly, make it very fast, because we have to make sure these young people get to school.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. We really appreciate you taking some time to chat with us and tell us what you do in these programs. Again, if anybody wants to reach out to Joe, joeysiddle@gmail.com, or you can comment on this video on whatever platform you're watching on, and we'll make sure we get that information to Joe. Joe, thanks so much.
I would love to help some companies to make some more revenue.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time inside the lab.
Thanks.